Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Path of Daggers. So The Path of Daggers is book 8 in the Wheel of Time series, which is an epic fantasy series, and this means that we're officially in the second half of the series, which is just insane for me. And I have reading vlogs for the 7 previous books that I will link down below, and also the playlist up here, I think. And this book is the shortest, at least so far, because they're usually around like 800, 900, over 900 pages, and this one is 570. Which I don't mind because lately they have been feeling like unnecessarily long. So I was glad for a shorter book. And finally, there are definitely spoilers for what happens in this book, in this reading vlog, and also previous books in the series. And yeah, let's just get into it. So I know that for the last couple books, I have been saying that nothing happens, and then I ended up saying like a bunch of things, but this time it's for real. So I am on page 185, and the first thing that happens is that 4 rulers of kingdoms or nations get together and they perform some kind of ritual that I am confused about, but they basically say that they're gonna find Rand, they're gonna do what has to be done. Like, what does that mean? Are they gonna help him? Are they gonna try to kill him? Are they gonna try to imprison him? Like, what are they doing? And speaking of making deals, Nynaeve and Elaine make a deal with the Sea Folk because they want the Bowl of the Winds, because I think it used to belong to them or something like that. And so once they use the Bowl of the Winds to fix the weather, they are gonna give the bowl back to the Sea Folk. And in order to use it, they need to leave Ebudar, because at the end of last book, Ebudar was being attacked by the White Cloaks and by the Xianchen, and just a huge mess. So they open a gateway. I mean Elaine and Avienda open a gateway to leave Ebudar. And so they go through the gateway and they get to a farm that I think belongs to the women of the kin. And 13 women, like after they get there, 13 women link up, like Nynaeve and Elaine and Avienda, and women from the kin because they can channel, and the Windfinders from the Sea Folk because they can also channel. And so 13 women link up and they use the Bowl of the Winds. But they notice that the bowl is also drawing Saidin, which is the male half of the One Power. And I was like, from who? From where? But they just say that, so I'm just like, okay, I'll accept it. And so they use the bowl, and basically, I guess the weather is gonna be fixed. And after they use the Bowl of the Winds, like, they used a lot of power, so the Xianchen were able to find them. And they see them approaching. They see, I think they call it a Raken, which is some kind of animal that belonged to the Xianchen, and so they open another gateway to leave. And they manage to get through it, but the Xianchen get there and they kind of like attack them through the portal. And so they get hurt, but then there's an explosion. And like I said, they get hurt, but they manage to escape. And basically Elaine decides that she wants to go back to Andor and claim her throne. And moving on, we then get to see the group of people that is with Perrin. And they are going to Gelden to talk to the queen to basically help deal with the prophet problem. and they ran into a group of people, and one of them is calling herself Magdin, but in reality, that's Morgase, Elaine's mother. But she is pretending to be someone else because she was the queen of Andor. And I mean, like, everyone thinks she's dead, but I mean, we know that she's not. And yeah, she's just pretending to be a random person. And she joins Perrin's group, and Fail actually says that they can basically work for her. And she at first is like kind of shocked, like, I'm a queen, but you know, obviously she's pretending not to be the queen, so she accepts that. And the last thing that we saw was that Fail met with her followers, and they told her what they saw in the city, and then she gives them some instructions that they must carry out, but she doesn't tell us the instructions, so I don't really know what she's doing, but that is where I'm at. So yeah, like I said, not a lot has happened. The only like big thing that happened was the use of the bull. The rest are just some, you know, minor things that did happen, and I mean, I don't know if they're gonna be important or not, but yeah, like nothing big happened except the use of the bull, but I am surprisingly enjoying it. And I guess something that helps is that we haven't had any chapters with Rand yet, and we barely saw Nynaeve, and the major POV we got so far was from Elaine, and I actually really like her, so I don't mind, you know, just following her doing whatever. But yeah, like there is a lot of just conversations and descriptions, which I don't love, but I also don't hate. And like I said, the only major thing that happened was the use of the bull that I have been anticipating for like 2 books. And yeah, there's not been any like big plot development or any development of any kind, but yeah, like I said, I am actually enjoying it. And I'm not loving it, like I said, but it's fine, it's okay. And I will update once I read another third, and I'll hope something happens. Okay, so I'm on page 388, and we finished our previous update with Perrin's group of people, and we're starting this one with Perrin's group of people. So Perrin goes talk to the wise ones that are there with him in the camp, and they tell him that the Dreamwalkers have told them that the prophet is a danger to Rand and that he must be killed. And after Perrin talks to them, he finds out that Elias has joined them, and Elias is the guy from book 1 who basically told Perrin about the talking to wolves thing and just taught him how to do it basically. And we learned that he used to be a warder for an Aes Sedai, but then like he had to leave once his eyes like turned yellow, I guess, and people started associating him with being a dark friend because of his eyes or something like that, and that's when he stopped being a warder. And he's just hoping that none of the Aes Sedai in that group remember him. And also the Queen of Gildan, or whatever the name of the thing is, gets there to camp, and she talks to Perrin, and she pledges her loyalty and her service, I guess, to him, and therefore to the Dragon Reborn as well. Also, this was like sort of a very short chapter, just like thrown there in the middle. But we learned that the Dark One has chosen the Nameless, who is basically like who's gonna rule one step below him, and is basically gonna rule the Forsaken. So that person has been chosen, and they have like been talking about choosing that person for a few books, and yeah, it has happened. So over 250 pages later, like after the beginning of the book, we finally get to the main character. And we learn that Rand still has not heard Louis Theron in his head again. I think he stopped listening to him in the last book, and yeah, he has not heard him again. And then he learns that the Xianchen have taken over Ebudar and Amador. And then on the following chapter, he finally listens to Louis Theron again. And moving on to other people, we get to see Egwene and Siwan like planning and scheming and working together, and they are such an iconic duo, and they are definitely like one highlight of this book for me. And also, like, speaking of Siwan, she is apparently in love with a guy, and like knowing how these books work, I saw that coming like 3 books ago, because like I said many times, these relationships in these books are just not it for me. But yeah, she's apparently in love. And Egwene gathers her Aes Sedai and basically declares that they are at war. I mean, they are going to be at war with Elaida, who is the Amerlin that took over from Siwan and is in the White Tower. Yeah. And like the majority of the other Aes Sedai agree, but not all of them. But basically, they will, like after a month of rest, they will go to Tar Valon and start a war. And yeah, that is where I'm at. And once again, like a few things happened, but nothing major. And maybe like everything that is happening, all the conversations, I mean, probably they will all be very important for the future. And if I was rereading these books, I would probably find it really interesting, like the foreshadowing and just things being mentioned before they happen. But as someone who is reading it for the first time, it just feels like there's not a lot going on. Because still, like the only major plot progression that has happened is the use of the Bowl of the Winds, which was in chapter 5. However, there are a lot of like cryptic conversations, cryptic messages that have been received by some characters that I'm definitely intrigued about. And like I want to know what the hell that means. And also, like, I am really enjoying the banter between some characters because, like I said, this is mostly conversations. And so we get to see a lot of banter, which I find very entertaining, actually, especially when Elaine is being sassy to Nynaeve. And also, we still haven't had a lot of Nynaeve, except, like, for those kind of conversations. And the other things she did say, like the other like 4 times she spoke, did she annoy me? Yes. But, you know, there hasn't been really enough of her to actually bother me. And also in terms of Rand, we got some chapters of him in this part, but still not a lot. But I do really enjoy, like in Rand's chapters, like Louis Theron's mad ramblings, I actually really enjoy them. Is that a good thing for Rand? Probably not, but it's entertaining for me. And also, we got to see quite a bit of Perrin, and he feels like different, which I guess is normal, but yeah, I don't love him as much as I used to, but it was still nice to follow him because I do still love him. And like I said as well, like a highlight of this book is definitely Egwene and Siwan's duo. And honestly, I was not expecting to like this book as much as I am. And I'm not saying that I'm loving it, like I'm not, because I wanted more action, which is not happening. But I did not expect to even actually enjoy it, but I am enjoying it. And I guess that's only happening because we're like 8 books in and I just know these characters. And so I'm fine just, you know, following them, doing whatever. And also, like, I love just being in this world. But having said that, I wish there were more things happening. Anyway, I will update again once I finish. Okay, so I have finished the book, and I guess that this last part is the one that I have the most to say about. I mean, in terms of the amount of things that happened, but still not that much when compared to other books. But anyway, Rand and his people head towards Ebudar to go look for the Xianchen. But when they get there, like around Ebudar, they say, like, Rand and the Ashaman say that Sayadin feels weird. So there is a fight between Rand and his people and the Xianchen. And as usual, like, fight scenes in these books are always really well done. I always really love them, and this one was no exception. And Rand decides to use Calendor, which is that sword that is also like a Terangrial or something Ungrial that has to do with the power. And so he uses the sword, but then he loses control of the sword and of the power. And he just kind of starts killing his own people without wanting to. And like basically he has to be stopped. And they get to capture some of the people from the Xianchen, and then the rest of the Xianchen retreats. And also we learned that Liandrin, who is a Aes Sedai from the Black Aja, is in the Xianchen camp, which I don't know if that's new information or if I just didn't remember, but yeah, apparently she's there. So an Aes Sedai from the White Tower is leading a group of more Aes Sedai towards the Black Tower, which is where the Ashamen are. But they like are stopped on the way there by the Ashamen, like they're surprised, and they are basically imprisoned because Rand doesn't want the Aes Sedai to be hurt. And we see Logain. I think it was at the end of book 6, I want to say, but I might be wrong, that he was freed from Egwene's camp, and like he was supposed to go join Rand and the Ashamen, but we weren't sure if he was going to. But he did. So when Rand gets back, he learns about the conditions of the Sea Folk to make a deal. And at first, he's not very happy with those conditions. He doesn't really want to accept, but then he ends up making the deal. And then he talks to an Aes Sedai called Katsuan, and she tells him that Calendor is not safe because it will magnify the taint in Sayadin and basically cause him to go crazy faster. And so we can only use Calendor if he is linked to 2 women who are the ones who will actually like guide the flows of the power. And then there's another fight there, and he kind of like he uses the power in a way that only Lewis Therin knew how. So like basically Lewis Therin takes over his body, which is pretty like scary. So like I said before, scary for Rand, but entertaining for me. And yeah, that happens, and now he's kind of on the run, I think. Moving on, Elaine finds, like in Elaine's camp, and Avienda and Nynaeve, they find 2 Aes Sedai dead, poisoned, and so they're assuming that there is a dark friend amongst their group. And then they get to the palace, and Elaine is gonna reclaim her throne, or try to, at least. Now, finally, Perrin goes talk to the prophet, and basically tells him that Rand wants him to stop doing what he's doing, which is a huge mess, and Rand also wants him to go talk to him. So he agrees, and then, like, the rest of the people from Perrin's group, they, like, Fail learns from her followers that the prophet is actually working with the Xianchen, because the prophet doesn't like Aes Sedai, and the Xianchen basically, like, capture people who can channel. So they are working together. And after we learn that information, they are attacked by the Shaido Aiel, which are those Aiel that are not with Rand. And basically everyone is kidnapped except for one person. And that's it. That is how the book ended. And before I say a bunch of things that I repeat again, let's go into my final thoughts. So, let's start with the characters as usual, and also because there really wasn't a lot of plots to talk about. But anyway, we follow Elaine, like Elaine's POV, for a good chunk of the book, which I liked because I actually really like Elaine. Except when she is talking to Avienda about Rand, because they know that, like, they have decided that they're gonna share him. And she says that she's fine with it, but then every time Avienda mentions Rand, she gets, like, jealous and doesn't want to talk about it. Which is understandable, but she keeps claiming that she's fine with it. So I'm just like, are you fine with it or are you not fine with it? But apart from that, I actually really like Elaine, so I was glad to follow her for a very long time. And also, like I have mentioned, I really liked when she was being sassy to Nynaeve. That was everything. Also, speaking of Nynaeve, she was thankfully not very present in this book, which I appreciated, and she was just not there enough for me to even be angry at her, which is a first. And also, Lan was not there. Like, I don't even remember him being there. I remember him being mentioned by, like, being with Nynaeve, or Nynaeve mentioning him, but like him actually being in a scene talking or doing something, I don't even remember. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but like if it did, was like once that I forgot about. And he was a cool character in the first books, and then he kind of actually disappeared for a few books, and now they brought him back. But like, why is he back if he's not doing anything? And also, I mentioned Avienda before when I was talking about Elaine. Like, in the beginning I didn't like Avienda, now I just don't care about her existence, like, at all. On the other hand, someone whose existence I care about is Egwene, because she is getting really, really interesting, and she's actually, like, leading the Aes Sedai, not just being the puppet that the others wanted her to be. And I'm just really, really liking her, and I really did not like her in the beginning of the series, so I don't know, like, what happened, but now I really, really, really like her. And like I also have mentioned, Egwene and Siwan were an incredible duo in this book, and definitely a highlight for me. Moving on to another character, Perrin, like, he feels different, and also kind of useless. He's not doing much, at least not much that matters. Like, to talk to the prophet, sure, but what is gonna come of that? I don't know. In this book, nothing, because he literally talked to the prophet in the last chapter, and we were waiting for that to happen since, like, the first chapter. But either way, like, I still really like him. I just want him to, do more. And I wanted more of him with the wolves, because that was something that I really, really enjoyed. And we haven't really gotten much of that. And still kind of sticking with Perrin, I am hating Fail so much. She is so annoying that when she was captured at the end of the book, I was like, just kill her. Because she is, like I have been saying the last few books, she is just so jealous without a reason. And in this book we learn that she's jealous because Perrin kind of yells at another woman, and she wants to be the one yelled at. She just wants him to yell at her, because that is pleasant, apparently. And after he does kind of, like, talk back to her, she's like, yep, that's it, that's what I want, that's my man. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So yeah, I really don't like her, and I can't believe that I actually did like her and did ship them. So what the fuck was wrong with me? And finally, getting to the main character, Rand is actually getting much more interesting to me, and I am really liking the dynamic, I guess, between him and Louis Theron, and just Louis Theron's ramblings, and just like when he took over, it was really cool. I liked him in the beginning of the series, then kind of started really annoying me, but now, like, I'm cool with him, and yeah, like I said, getting more interesting. So I'm excited to see where he goes. And yeah, there was no maps in this book, and I only didn't complain about it in my updates because I knew that was gonna happen. Because, like I have said many times before, I know some spoilers, and that was one of those. And also, like, if I didn't know that he's alive. I would be really worried after what happened at the end of last book. But I do know that he's alive, so I'm just, waiting for him to come back. So yeah, in this book I really liked most of the interactions between the characters. That was really fun. What I did not like was the lack of plot development. And I know that probably everything will be important at some point, but it's just not very enjoyable to read for a first-time reader. But I do love this world and just the plot in general, and I want to keep experiencing it. And like I said, like the fight scenes were incredible because they always are. And so yeah, I actually liked it more than I expected because everyone says that these are like the books where nothing happens. So I was worried because I am someone who usually likes books with a lot of action. But yeah, I actually enjoyed it more than I expected, but I wasn't, excited about it. So I am giving it 3.5 stars. And so yeah, this is everything for this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!